Well, it's almost 6:30 over here. This is day two of the Awakening Conscious Leadership Deep Dive with Exchange Community. Wow. Well, yesterday was just so magical. It was so magical. Oh my God. So yesterday we focused the session on activating, creating an internal activation process that primed us for learning and growth. So we asked the questions, when have you had an exceptional learning experience and what factors show up? And so when you think in the past about your most powerful transformational experiences, and then you think, how did you show up to actually make that happen? I mean, it awakens is qualities of ownership, openness, kindness, curiosity, presence, and purpose, and being intensely on purpose. So with those factors awakened, actually we had Alexander McCowan, the CEO of Conscious Capitalism, who I'm so blessed. Well, you've seen him earlier in the series. He was there and he was sharing on what is conscious leadership, with the mission of we exist to elevate humanity. And then everybody went into breakout rooms to explore, what is the purpose for them? How do I want to show up as a conscious leader in the world? What is my story? What is our story? So they engaged in these very rich paired interviews with each other to awaken the purpose of their conscious leadership. And there where we went next is after the break, I did a whole piece on looking at, what are the qualities of high performance leadership and low performance leadership? And then we mapped those qualities into the neuroscience, how our brain works so we can better work our brain. It was glorious. So in essence, in short, the brain essentially maps to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, simplified to levels of safety, belonging, and significance. And so there's a flow in the brain. When demands exceed resources, we go down into a stream of reactivity. On the other hand, when we tap into our internal resources and external resources, we can rise in a stream of inspiration and purpose to experience a creative mindset. So we have this oscillation between a reactive, low-performance leadership mindset and a creative, high-performance leadership mindset. And then we moved into the afternoon. The afternoon was extraordinary as well, because then we looked at the foundation of conscious leadership. And the foundation of conscious leadership is mindfulness. It's having the wherewithal and the awareness of understanding that conscious leadership is an act of influence. It's an act of influence, tethered to noble purpose. And having the ability to say as conscious leaders, we're wired to connect, so you cannot not have influence, and we have influence in every area of our lives. Every area of our lives. We have influence at home as parents, we have influence in our friend circles, we have influence in our work. But leadership's not a role, it's a way of being. Every touch point is an act of influence. So the only question we have to ask ourselves is, it's not even an act of becoming a leader. It's an act of being aware of the influence we're already having. So the awakening of conscious leadership is, what kind of influence am I having on my environment? Am I having a positive influence, or am I having a negative influence on my environment? It's a big question. It's a really big question. Am I showing up as a demand for somebody, or am I showing up as a resource for them? There's a responsibility of within conscious leadership. It imposes a responsibility. With that awareness comes up, how do we want to treat each other? Especially at a time of intense divisions. How do we come to a place of healing? And that engages conscious leadership. So where we are today on day two, so I'm getting set up right now. It's the Awakening of Conscious Leadership, day two, is, now we're going to get into the steps. the 4 steps of elevation. 4 steps of elevation. So the first step is having the ability to, at the base, recognize and manage our reactivity. So that's step 1. Step 2 is reframing our experience with stress and self-doubt, because that's ultimately oftentimes when stress and self-doubt imposes an internal demand which drives us into reactivity. So in reframing our relationship with stress and self-doubt and having a healthy relationship, we liberate the energy to use stress and self-doubt actually as inspirational fuel that enables us to elevate further. And then the next step up is cultivate creativity by reflecting what really matters in our lives. And then the 4th step is about catalyzing, transforming our internal conversation so we can catalyze growth. So that's where we're going today, and I couldn't be more excited for how and appreciative. Everybody, I think we have about 90 people in the training on Zoom. We went for 7 hours, and the energy was higher by the end of the day than